my friends. I realize audio quality might not be the best, but welcome to Conan Exiles. The server that I had been streaming on before was a private server of mine, which I unfortunately had to let go for the moment. Thus, I've kind of been offline for a little while. However, a good friend of mine hosts a fun server that let me build some RP environments on. And if you can see it, I'm on my good old merchant ship, which comes from Dude's Delightful, I believe, which is a nice mod for Conan Exiles. It's one of the nice things about at least the PC version. I wish the console version had the opportunity or had the capacity to have mods. Now, coming here in the future, we're going to be doing some really wild build options. We're going to start with vanilla versions that work well on console or PC, and this way we can show you some of the cool things that are possible when it comes down to building RP environments in Conan Exiles. We'll also start talking about building PvP environments in Conan Exiles because, well, that's a major component of some of the servers that I've met some wonderful community members on. People who are a lot of fun, despite the fact that at the time they were murdering me and taking all my stuff. But they were still good people and still a lot of fun to play with. Just remember that when you do jump on a server, be aware of the environment you're jumping into, whether it be PvP or PvE oriented. So, here we have a large number of mods, which is kind of nice. It's allowed me to get pretty custom in my builds. And in this particular case, I've been playing on this server, having fun with these people for quite some time. So let me show you what I've got so far and what I'm working on. And then we'll talk about some of the other options we have for this stream. So this particular boat, this ship we've got here, is in a small bay / fishing village that's protected. Somebody else's ship over there. As a matter of fact, he brought that ship because he liked what I'd built over here, which was a huge honor, at least on this side of the fence. So we have the inside of my little cabin here. My own personal chef, of course. This is Sir Brunhild. He's seen better days. Kind of misses the water. He's not quite human. And then we have Bobby. He's seen a lot better days, and he's just completely unwilling to die. Which honestly I can't argue about. Now, this is the original part of this particular fishing village were these little huts. We have a storage hut here. We have just some chests, little merchant bench, great place to store stuff and organize, you know. Then of course we've got our little trees and oh yeah, we dry some meats and other things. I like to pack things in. We have here, this is the workhouse. It doubles as a stable. Well, there's some work that I need to do on it. We've got somebody who moved into their stable place, which I guess that's awesome. They like it. There we have Bjorn, who is actually my mount. That's my horse out there. We have all the people working up here. A herald. I still don't know what a herald is. I found him kind of off and lonely, so I knocked him out, made him a friend, and boom, here he is. And of course, we have Ulrich the Beast, which you might have seen if you apply the trades of the uh, Lower Valley River. Little orc alchemist over here. He likes making some weird stuff, man. We just leave him alone because he bites. I have a nice tower. These towers kind of make up the cornerstones. Oh, not that. Don't look there. Make up the cornerstones of the bay. Sorry for the jerkiness. Oh yeah, and I kind of made well, I'm working on making a larger building on top of the broken bridge, if you can see that. And of course, I would be foolish not to enjoy the use of a nice giant tree. Tree houses rock. So let's see here. Now these little spiky things, they can hurt if you land on them. I have a couple of drawbridges separating these two. I'm thinking about doing an extra wall around this particular building. Oh, there he is. Alligator's always causing problems, trying to eat my chickens. I mean, I don't have any chickens, but he tries to eat them. Sorry, dude. Okay. I have a few tools, a few toys. But the treehouse system, this is a mix of bridge work, Dude's Delight, which has some really cool like covered balcony areas, as well as I want to call it vanilla, but it's part of the game, and that's the tree system. I don't know if it's in a specific DLC, but these particular pieces, as long as they're touching a tree, they create structure, which is kind of nice. See how it goes. Now, I can add foliage to this for RP reasons, which I haven't done. You can see how I've created this little area here. There's some branches, which allows these pieces to create structure and create a buildable area, which is kind of nice. Now, I haven't filled these out. I actually put this together as originally it was going to be a lookout, but for RP purposes. RP meaning role-playing, you know, for people to have fun. But then a friend of mine who plays here with me on occasion, he said, hey, look, can you make something that's kind of druidy and all leafy and stuff? And I thought, yeah, most definitely I can do that. So I built this whole thing for them. Now they get to fill it out. I gave them a dancer. Don't worry, she is fully clothed. Well, I mean, bikini. But what do you expect? She's in a pool. This is a covered bath. I believe it is from one of the not DLCs, one of the mods that we have on this server. But the nice thing about this nice tall area here is that it's got a bit of a secret diving board. Oh, and you can see the place I'm building from here up on top of the broken bridge. Now, some people, they've actually tried to complete the bridge, and they'll use mods and whatnot, but no, not me. I kind of like the broken bridge concept, and a castle is forming on top of it. I mean, I'm having a lot of fun with that. But let's see, what's it look like if I jump off? Oh yeah. Oh, well, thank goodness for water, right? That's kind of a fun little place to go. So now we're going to go up into our little tower building. This, by the way, is these walls right here are part of the stall system, and they've been combined with dudes, delightful, to make some really cool, the inn structure specifically, to make a really cool little workhouse. So the upstairs is nice and it's functional. It's got a dryer and a lot of workstations, plenty of space. But this right here, this is the massive building. Now this little building here, this is Casa de Gruntag, whatever it is. At any rate, he plays on the server with me on occasion, as well as helps me out with the stream. I'm a big fan of the window structures. I don't know why they work so well, but they do. Also, rabbits. Rabbits produce resources, and resources can be used to help fortify your position, so that you don't have to worry about always going out and murdering a bunch of animals. You've got your own ones in a cage, and well, you know, by natural death, of course. So I keep them in here. It's a place. It's fortified. It's a nice structure. Oh yeah, and we have our own little bar. Bartender. He hasn't made anything in a while. So this is the base of our building structure, although we're probably going to be moving it because having to come all the way down here for parts is not exactly easy. This is from the mod Age of Calamitous, and it allows me to build faction-specific structures, as you can see. And of course, we have to store them. Now, this is meant to look like it was built secondhand to the inside. This is like, hey, look, we noticed a structure on top. Let's see if we can get to it. And then you get into the structure on top, and it's a little different. Now, I always like to make at least 2 ways up. So here is currently what I have. I'm currently working on the inside. And there's a cathedral-like space going to be in the middle so that I can house the map room. Now this thing's huge. It really is, and it takes up a lot of space. Here is the other way in, or down. And this is a combination of this small arched gateway from the Glass Constructions and More, and the Argosian from the DLC. The Argosian with the arches and the bas relief is actually pretty awesome. But if you look here, I wanted to be consistent, so I used the pieces in order to have a flow. Now, there's structure underneath this. I'm a big fan of catacombs. There's the elevators down to the lower section. But of course, and when I say lower section, I'll show you what I mean. But here we have our little catacomb area. This isn't just the catacomb area. This will go to a lower section here. And it's got like little cubby holes and storage and stuff like that. And it's open at each end so that you can reach the gates to the city, gates to the building. Now this is actually a cool little thing, because when you start using this elevator that goes across, then the animation starts. There's an animation on a lot of different areas in Conan to show you what used to be. And here we go. So you can see how that they used to have a bridge structure here. they don't anymore. And so they have this ghostly animation that shows up when you cross the area. As you can see, the pens and the boat and the bay. Now, from a PvP's perspective, that bay wouldn't hold anybody back. But from a PvE perspective, like for instance, say we get a purge. A purge can be pretty devastating to lower end materials. So in order to make it survivable, I've created that wall, which has a fairly dense set of foundations coated by strong outside structures that have kind of a nice look to them. But beyond just the nice look, it also has those spiky pieces of wooden fencing, or not fencing, what's the word I'm looking for? I'll remember it later. By the way, I do apologize for the kind of overbearing noise behind me. My audio setup isn't exactly perfect, but I'm working on it. Inside, using arena pieces, which is kind of fun. This is all arena structure here. This out here, which is part of the quote-unquote new structure, is using the Dude's Delightful inn structure. Inn and tavern. I've got to fill that out. Oh, you know what? Let's make our way all the way down. See? That's also in structure. Now, each one of those, these towers, you can actually go into those rooms, which is kind of cool. And this goes almost all the way to the other end. Now, it's not an easy piece to climb just by itself. We're going to get another vantage here. More ghosts. Ghosts also lead you to different places for learning about like various emotes you can use, or perhaps some recipes for new feats that you don't have to spend any points on. They give you new recipes for cooking and a variety of other things. But like here's an emote system. This is the emote structure right here, as well as a couple of modded components, like summoning your guys. Like here's a good example. Juggling, considered an emote. You kind of have to pull a weapon out in order to accommodate or end the juggling emote. If you ever start in this area and you need a quick access to the bark or to sticks, this area right here up by the Yogg trainer is an awesome place to get it. Now I've got very advanced equipment. It doesn't take much equipment to get good amounts of bark off of these dried trees. Now this guy will teach you the Yogg religion, the Yoggite religion. So, you know, if you fancy yourself a little bit of people fricassee, then, well, Nunu the cannibal is your man.
You are lost, seeking guidance, yes?
He also loves company. Sometimes, though, you know, I don't stay during dinner time because who knows who might end up being the main course on the meal tonight. When he asks you to set a table, you gotta worry when there's no dinnerware. So, at any rate, there's a bunch of dried wood here that you can grab, and that'll give you bark. Even with a stone pick, you can get a lot of bark. And the funny thing is if you use a hatchet, you have a greater chance of getting a small amount of sticks, additional sticks, and dried wood. But if you use a pick, you get bark. Sometimes a stick, sometimes dried wood. I haven't tried any other pieces of equipment. Now, did you see that? So if I come back here, let's see if I can... Okay, cool. Oh, no, the draw is already done. So in this particular game, there is an enormous amount of data that passes across the network, across the internet, in order to show you what's going on. And in that particular case, it's called a draw distance in video game terms. So all the pieces that make up that structure that I've built, they don't necessarily necessarily exist in your view range until you get to a certain distance. And the reason is to make your game better for you, make it a more pleasurable experience, because sometimes some people can build massive structures that make that small tower, and I call it a small tower, look like, you know, a hut. Now, I've got my draw distance pretty far out, and that's because my system, while not top end, is still a pretty good one. Also, if you start in this area, we're going to go back to that, you get to this river, you can come up here to the broken bridge, and this is a good place for a little bit of iron, but most specifically for crystal. Crystal, and if you've got Age of Calamitous, gems. As well as a little bit of meat. Now, you can pick these. You know, if I just hit E, I can pick up crystal. But you can also hit them with a pick to get larger amounts. If you just use the pick mechanic, you're only going to get what your server is set up as your default. So oftentimes that's going to be 1. Especially for some PvP servers where they want you to really work on making structures. Oh, it looks like we got a friend, so we're going to say hello, and then we're going to go back to picking. Now, you notice I used a tool to get meat from the fallen monster. A friend of mine likes to call them leg days. It's hilarious to me. So, if you look, he looks like he's got muscles on his arms, not necessarily on his legs. So he missed leg day. That was the reason he did the joke. At any rate, but if you hit different things, if you use different tools on various things, like for instance, I got meat by using a cleaver, and if I use the pick, I can get hide and a little bit of meat. Sometimes you can get bone, or sometimes you can get demon blood, which is a nice thing, especially on, you know, this lower starter area. But you can see I'm getting a lot of crystal and a lot of gems, Age of Calamitous gems, from these various rocks. Now there are different monsters down here. There's actually quite a few. Occasionally you'll get these guys that blow up. But there's also a kind of a boss guy. Right there. He is a one skull boss. And if I wasn't, you know, level 3,500, he'd be pretty tough. When I hit him with a pick, you'll notice I got some bone. So some creatures can give bone material when you hit them. Notice I only got, oh, there you go, I got some demon blood. And the amount is entirely based on the tool you're using. And what seems to happen, and this is entirely based on observation. So this is not because I've been in the database or I know the game or anything of that nature. This is just because I've done it, and it would seem that the use of a tool gives you 3 categories or up to 3 categories of goods and materials. And the amounts are entirely based on the tool you're using, but the 3 categories are they also dictate the amount. The maximum being the tool, the second one being half the tool, and the third one being hand pick. So for instance, if your server has a hand pick setup that allows you to pick 3 to 5 of a material every time you use a hand to pick a material, like for instance, if I walk up to one of these and I just hit E, I just picked, you know, there you go, I got 3, 6, and 3. So this server has a little more than your average, right? So that's your hand pick component. Here's a rock. I picked up a rock, 3 rocks, right? So if I use a tool that gives me 3 components, I'm probably going to get tool level component. In this case, for the tool that I'm using, which comes from Age of Calamitous, it's an advanced tool. I'm a level 124 character out of 300. Then that pick is going to give me, you know, like 60 to 80 of a unit, right? So if I hit this rock, boom, I got 78 stone. Now, if I get more than one, I'm probably going to get 78 stone. Say I might get like 9 to 25 of another material, and 3 to 5 of a third material. That's the way the game seems to work. Now, this is an opinion. This is not hard fact. Your experience might be a little different, but that's kind of something that I've been going on, and I haven't been let down yet. This is also a good place to find iron ore. For those of you who are just starting out, iron is hard to get on the river. So when you can find a location, and this is a consistent location across other servers, even with mods, these chunks of iron can get you going a lot faster. Specifically if you need iron for a blacksmith bench. Please excuse me, I just sneezed because the air conditioning's on. And I've got a wimpy respiratory system. In the days of COVID, you know, one of them old people that has to worry about it. And thus, games like Conan give me a bit of a release. The ability to feel like I'm going somewhere. I'm doing something at least. Without necessarily leaving the house. Let me point out a good draw distance component that I was just talking about. You'll notice if you look at that little white dot right in the middle of my screen, that's the wall, the outside wall of the north end of my compound. Excuse me. That section right there looks like it's fallen or doesn't exist. So if I go closer, I'm just going to swim over, and you'll start seeing the wood pillars and the stone structure draw in. What's happening is the draw distance is being met. So it had not loaded that into memory until I got closer. Now, what you can't see is there are 2 levels of these wooden palisades. Okay, structures that have pointy bits on top. If you look, here is a version of it. It's just sticking out because it's closer to this gate, and it's the way the wall is made. Now, the challenge with climbing on one of these is that when you're climbing in Conan Exiles, if you take any damage whatsoever, it's going to pull you off the wall. See? So I can't actually climb over this relatively short wall. Now, there are attribute levels that can give you the ability to do a double jump. And some of the shorter sections might allow you to successfully double jump before you get to that point, but then you have to deal with the top end of the wall. This drawbridge, by the way, comes from the Vangul faction of the Age of Calamitous, and it's a lot sturdier, a lot stronger than, say, the standard drawbridge, which has what looks like potholes and whatnot. It's fun for large cliff structures. Oh, and if you want to know where I get these pieces from, these arched wood pieces that look like they support the structure, that's from Glass Constructions or More, and it's their beam structure, which is one of my favorite components of Glass Constructions and More. While I like glass walls and whatnot, I don't necessarily need them as much as you can make. You can make an entire castle out of glass with the Glass Constructions or More mod. However, and I've done it before. It looks cool, looks very weird for me, and it can create a lot of lag for me because I don't have the most top-end system. Now, here you see the merchant ship that we had started on, the hut, the trees. You haven't seen Bjorn the bear. So most horses, they've got a specific look and feel to them. Well, here's Bjorn. And his normal walk is not all that fast at all. So the balance is walk not so fast. Run, on the other hand, oh yeah. His run is pretty nice. Aww. But it uses stamina. It uses it pretty quick. So you can't use it all the time. Oh look, there's a dude over there. So, bear's a fun mount to have. Part of a mod, by the way. Exiles Extreme, I think, but I'm not sure. I know that on this particular server, the admins have created an environment that pretty much allows you to go out and have some fun and give you some creative outlets, like, for instance, a bear mount. So that is my RP environment. I hope you've enjoyed this.